Hey BookTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I am sharing my 5 favorite classics. These aren't in a particular order, and these are just kind of ones that I looked through the classics that I've read, and these are my top 5 picks for the ones that I like the most or got the most out of. First I picked Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. This is one of the first classics that I read, and I actually want to go and reread it. It's just that would be a major project, and so it's not something that I'm going to do probably in the super near future, but I absolutely love this book and the play, and I am totally a Les Mis fangirl. My favorite character is of course Jean Valjean, and my favorite scene is when he's caught stealing the candlesticks from the priest. I love that scene. I feel like it's a major turning point, and it teaches such a powerful lesson. I absolutely love it. I really love the themes throughout this book. The storyline is fine, and I like the history in it and everything and the characters, but I absolutely love the themes that are just woven throughout this book. The themes of redemption, of love, with redemption, just the conflict that comes from that, whether it's internally or externally. I really love the tug and pull between mercy and justice throughout this as well, and how he characterizes that, and just all of the lessons that you can get from this book. It's such a moving, life-changing book, and I definitely recommend it to anybody to read because it is so beautiful. Or even if you just wanted to watch the play or the musical, if you haven't seen it, it is amazing, and the music in it is absolutely phenomenal as well. Next I picked To Kill a Mockingbird. I first read this in high school when I was in 10th grade, I think, my 10th grade English class, but I have reread it many times since then, and every time I reread it I feel like I get more out of it and it leaves me as a better person. One of my favorite things about To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee is that it looks at such deep and profound issues that run deep in all of us. Even if we like to think that we're not racist or prejudiced, we all have those tendencies within us, and it's human nature to be a little bit prejudiced, and I love the way that Harper Lee looks at those issues through the eyes of the child. And I think Scout is the perfect child to do it through, because Scout is innocent, but also not. she is just so brazen, and I love Scout as a character. I really love the kind of side story of Boo Radley in this, and how it plays in with the overall major themes of prejudice and fear and all of those fear of the unknown in people and things like that. I love the Boo Radley story. I also really love the coming of age growing up story of Jem, and even though that's kind of a very side story, I like that that's included in here as well, through the eyes of Scout, who hasn't quite grown up yet, but then by the end kind of has to grow up a little bit more. And of course Atticus. Atticus is one of my favorite characters in all of literature. I absolutely love Atticus. He is so brave and courageous and moral and such a good father and loves to read, and I don't know, he's flawed, but he's still like the perfect character. I love Atticus. Then I picked Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I thought about picking Pride and Prejudice, because Pride and Prejudice also has a lot in it that's very deep, and the characters all kind of play around the theme of the pride and the prejudice, and I really love how brilliant she is with that. But I ended up picking Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, partially just because I really love the characters of Jane and of Mr. Rochester more than the characters in Pride and Prejudice. I think that they're very strong, very complex characters that I absolutely adore. Obviously Jane is a very strong woman character, a very strong female character, one that I would want my daughters to look up to. I love how she perseveres through all of the hardships that she goes through, especially as a child, because some of the things she goes through as a child are just heartbreaking, and you can see the effects of that later in life, but she continues to try and make her life better and continues to persevere and push through, and I love that about her. I also love her relationship with Mr. Rochester, of course, and Mr. Rochester himself is obviously a really good love interest, of course. I also feel like the plot of Jane Eyre is a really interesting one for a classic because of the cruelty in the beginning and being able to get away from that, and then coming into this kind of mystery and you don't know what's going on, and when you do find the answer it's kind of shocking. And I know when I first read it, the plot did not progress the way that I thought it was going to. It was a very unexpected book for me, full of lots of twists that I did not see coming. And I just love all of the emotions that it brings out. I feel like this book has a lot of really strong emotions that it talks about, and as a reader you're able to feel a lot of those really strong emotions. And then I picked Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, and I picked this one even though it's a children's classic. It is one of my absolute favorites. One of the reasons I like this is because it's kind of a more fun, light read, partially because it's a children's classic, but even for children's classics I feel like it's easier to understand, and it's just more of a, you know, this is what we would do in our summers, we're on a farm, there's talking animals, it's just kind of really light and fun. I love the idyllic feel of being surrounded by nature and being with animals and being on the farm and having free time to do what you want as a child, and, you know, not being so hurried, I guess. They're busy but they're not hurried, and the fair and all of those, just the atmospheres that E.B. White is able to create really pulls you into the story, and I love that feel. I also love that even though it's a lighter read, it still talks about a lot of really important themes and teaches a lot of really good lessons. One of the things I love is just the friendships in this book. I love when Fern saves Wilbur, and then later Charlotte gives up, you know, the last of her life to help Wilbur and really sacrifices for Wilbur, and I love that lesson in the book. I just really think this is a fantastic children's classic. The last one I actually don't own, but it is The Giver by Lois Lowry, and I don't know if this is actually considered a classic. I don't really have like a set definition of a classic, but I consider it a classic and it's one of my favorites. First of all, it just has a really interesting premise and story, in my opinion. The whole idea of The Giver is just so interesting to me. I absolutely love the way the story is written too, the imagery and the emotions that we feel as we're reading it, because the imagery is so stark when we go from the black and white emotionless world to the memories that the giver has. I just think that the contrast there really brings out the emotions in a way that you can feel them even stronger than you normally would. I think that the book is just really well written overall, and I really think that it has a really important discussion going throughout the book on how our society is, and really gets us thinking about our society and the way that we do things, and is that the right way to do them, and how could we do them better. And I love books like that. So those are my 5 favorite classics. I would love to hear what your 5 are in the comments below. Thanks for watching my video. I will see you in the next one.